Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn, the legend Bobby Burton, and the estimable Jerry Hamilton is joining us. He's always on the road. I have no idea actually where Jerry is right now. We'll have to ask him that once we get started. I didn't even ask Jerry where he is. He's in some parking lot. I can see the stores behind him, because he's always out in the world. He's doing that for y'all because he's always trying to get those tidbits and those great nuggets of recruiting. Speaking of recruiting, we're going to talk recruiting. We'll start out talking about that because I think the coaches are out just like Jerry. They're out on the road pounding the pavement for you guys. So speaking of you guys, you know what this is about. Friday live stream. We open it up to as many questions and comments. We'll address as many of them as we can. So throw them out there. Questions about anything related to Longhorn football. Also, super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. You know how that works. We can start to look ahead a little bit to Texas' next opponent, but probably going to look around the SEC since the Longhorns are on a bye week. Look around the SEC, talk about some of the Longhorns' upcoming opponents and what they got going on this weekend. And yes, there is a big game coming up in college football, top 5 matchup between Ohio State and Penn State. We can dive into that a little bit too. Hey, appreciate all you guys joining us from everywhere, all around the country. The On Texas football family is it's expanding and getting bigger and bigger every day. We appreciate you guys. All right, how you guys doing? How you got? What's going on, Jerry? First of all, Jerry, where are you? Just tell people where you are.
I'm in Orlando, and somebody said I'm at a Chick-fil-A. I was at a Chick-fil-A, and I was going to do this sitting outside, but it started like this Florida rain showers. You know, you get them a little bit longer in Orlando, so I'm sitting in my car, but next to the Chick-fil-A at an Arby's. But I was at Chick-fil-A for lunch. But I'm in Orlando. The Texas coaches are on the road and in the state of Texas everywhere. And I know we'll get into that. Johnny Nance was on the West Coast. We're waiting, kind of monitoring to see if Madden Faramo is actually going to show up. His schedule is visit the Texas in late November. We haven't heard yet. I know Texas will try to push for that. So we got a lot of news about Texas coaches on the road.
All right, good stuff. And we'll get to that too. Bobby, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Living large. Got a free weekend to watch a bunch of football. I'm ready for it, man. Going to be a big weekend. We talked about it this morning on a Coffee and Football, Rod and Jerry, about how this is a weekend we literally can watch all 4 future opponents for Texas without having to worry about what Texas is doing. And so it'll give us an opportunity to really sit back and look at it. Also, I'm really interested to see what happens with recruiting down the stretch here, Rod. Jerry, as you know, has been following this. Look, Sark's out in Dallas today, going to be around several different areas. People are in Georgia, they're in Florida, they're in California, et cetera. Coaches all around and trying to monitor where exactly they're going. So that's a big piece. There's a basketball commitment coming up at 5 o'clock today that we're really tracking. And then also, I want to say this: we're going to have a special guest today. I think it's really cool. Will Matthews.
Nice.
You know Will very well. So does Jerry. He is competing in the New York City Marathon on Sunday. And has raised over $10,000 for a charity. Will, a former fullback at the University of Texas, now a sideline reporter for their radio crew. Good guy, all-around human. We're going to bring him in. I'm not sure if he's in New York yet, guys, or where he's at, but he's going to be joining us about 15 minutes. Just talk a little Longhorn football as well as his journey and talk about the folks that have supported him. So I'm happy to do that.
That's fantastic. I can't wait to talk to Will. Actually, I've probably at the beginning of the football season, last time I hung out with Will. Will's a great dude and love his sideline analysis too that he's got going on as a sideline reporter for the Longhorns. All right, before we get to all of those recruiting items you talked about, we're going to look around the SEC schedule, maybe the college football schedule a little bit too. Before we do any of that, let's thank one of our fantastic sponsors for our Friday live stream. And Bobby, I'll just open it up to you because it is a 40 Acres Friday. I'm wearing my 40 acres right now. Actually feels a little bit like fall in Texas, so I can actually wear my, my zip up here, feeling good. Tell the folks about 40 Acres Apparel and our good friends over at the University of Texas Co-op.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wearing my long sleeve 40 Acres right now too. 40 Acres Apparel was born inside DKR, designed and built exclusively for the University of Texas and Longhorn Nation. Go down to the University of Texas Co-op or go to the University of Texas Co-op.com and get geared up with 40 Acres Apparel. Great designs, fashionable, high quality, SPF 50, moisture wicking. It's a super good product. Looks great, feels great. 40 Acres is a proud sponsor of the course material scholarships for UT students. that is generated out of the University of Texas Co-op. We appreciate not only 40 Acres, but also the University of Texas Co-op for their sponsorship each and every Friday. Good stuff, guys. It's getting ready to be Christmas time, and y'all are going to be wanting Christmas. 40 Acres is legit now. It's a legit thing. They have a whole page available to you on the co-op website.
Oh, good stuff there, Bobby. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Trust, I was wearing 40 Acres apparel even before our great partnership with them here at Owen Texas Football. So go check out their product there at the University of Texas Co-op. All right, guys, I want to just ask quickly about recruiting because I know Jerry's on the road there. So I know you guys got some recruiting nuggets you wanted to share. Jerry, who exactly are you out there looking at? Any prospects you got your eyes on?
Well, been in the state of Florida for a few days. I went and saw the new offer, Kellen Wiley, on Wednesday. Saw Myron Charles on Tuesday, where Kenny Baker is scheduled to be at later today. Kenny Baker also going to see Javion Hilson at Cocoa High today. But more important than me, it's where Sark's at, and these guys are on the road. Sark is up in DFW. He's going to stop by to see Michael Fasusi, the Oklahoma 5-star offensive lineman commit. I'll throw this out there right now. He's got if he has communication with Texas, if he doesn't get back down to a game, I just don't see it moving in any direction. We'll see. We'll see how bad Michael Fasusi wants to be at Oklahoma, but Texas isn't the only school still trying to recruit Michael Fasusi, to be clear. But he at least has opened up the lines of communication with other schools now. For a while there early in the season, he was not. So we'll see if that gets anywhere. I always say this, like in the first off week, Steve Sarkisian was in Houston bumping around, going to see schools, and he went to see Dorian Brewer. He went to see Devin Sanchez. They tried to get Devin Sanchez to the Georgia game. That didn't work out. So I'm just upfront about we're reporting where he's at. Does that mean a kid's going to flip, make a visit? No, it doesn't. They're just trying to see where they can get with some of these prospects. Dorian Brewer and his mom did go to the Texas-Georgia game. So we'll see. That's going to be the big thing. Sark will be he's been at Dallas South Oak Cliff. I think the head coach at South Oak Cliff published that. So they're also seeing some younger kids. He's scheduled to be at the at least half of the Dallas Skyline DeSoto game. Elijah Barnes, obviously some really good young players at DeSoto, including the 2027 receiver. But that's more to see Elijah Barnes because that first off week, Sark went to see Jonah Williams for a half, then flew the helicopter to see Nick Townsend for a half. So that's kind of what Sark's doing, hitting some schools around that today. Tashard Choice is seeing his running back commitments, James Simon, Ricky Stewart, then Kyle Flood's also in DFW area making some of those OL visits. Chris Gilbert was by Mesquite Horn yesterday to see Lamont Rogers. If Michael Fasusi or Lamont Rogers wanted to come to Texas, they would take one of those guys. I think Lamont Rogers is likely the Missouri commitment's more likely to go to Texas A&M. He's been down there multiple times this year. I think A&M's probably the favorite for Lamont. We'll see if Missouri can hang on to him. Johnny Nansen was out in California earlier this week, went to see Josiah Sharma on Wednesday at Folsom up in Northern California. They also have some 2026 kids that Texas likes and some really good young players at Folsom like they always have. We'll see where Johnny Nansen also stopped. Tonight, I mentioned I went to Armwood to see Kellen Wiley. Jeff Banks, PK are expected in at the Armwood game tonight to see Kellen Wiley play. They'll make some other stops in Tampa, 2025 cornerbacks, 2026 corner prospects. Texas is out and about around the country today, seeing what they can get done in recruiting here because they have cornerback needs to fill if they can at the high school level. Obviously, 2 D-line spots, which are those are the toughest recruitments to win in the Southeast. The most is on the line with those. They're the biggest battles outside of quarterback in recruiting in the Southeast. So we'll see where Texas goes with this class with what are we, 32 days till signing day, or what used to be signing day.
No, good stuff there. Bobby, here's actually a question for you guys, period. It's from Nick Turn. I like that. It says, Hookin' Boys, it was great meeting Bobby at the local last weekend. They were not ready for how many Texas fans were there. He says, why haven't we seen any more commits? Thought some were close. What are your thoughts, guys? Have we lost a little bit of momentum with the recruiting after the Georgia game?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that these kids, a lot of the kids Texas is battling for right now are planning to make decisions or announce decisions, even if they have something privately, around December 4th.
Okay.
You know, what used to be signing day, that is what a lot of kids are targeting, that first Wednesday in December, December 4th, because that's the date all these kids and the people have had in their minds already, even though I guess there's technically not a signing day anymore. So December 4th, later in November for maybe a couple of announcements, but really that December 4th is when a lot of these guys that Texas are recruiting are going to make their final decisions, because Texas is after a lot of guys that are committed elsewhere. So you got to see who you can get to campus in November, whether that be for the Florida game, maybe the Kentucky game, or maybe just a practice on a weekday or a couple of weekdays, a midweek visit after high school seasons are over. That's really what Texas is up against, and every school's up against that. But the key is December 4th is where a lot of these kids have targeted for announcing their final decisions or their decisions if they haven't made one already.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm a little surprised. I'll chalk that up, and I do think the Georgia game thwarted some momentum. You would agree with that, right, Jerry? Not much at all for you.
I don't think so. I mean, because a lot of these kids were going to announce they were going to decide they were going to announce their decisions December 4th. So, I mean, I wasn't expecting a Joseph Mbaktu to turn around and decide to commit in November when he's put out that it's going to be December 4th. Javion Hilson, December 4th. The one Michael Terry, does he do something in November? Does it go all the way to December 4th? So, and I would caution people. Last year, Kobe Black kept pushing it back. Ryan Wingo kept pushing it back. So I think that's where these kids are at now. The one that could be a November decision announcement could be Michael Terry, but the rest of these guys have all been pretty much pointing to December 4th.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris Bennett asks, how's it still National Signing Day? It'll be interesting to see moving past this class, Bobby, because all these kids have had December 4th, that Wednesday, in their mind. They have they have announcement that the school plans, special days at the school for TV, the announcements, pep rallies, what all these schools do for these kids. That date's been planned and set for a while. So what happens moving forward with no National Signing Day anymore? That's anybody's guess. But this class, this 25 cycle, I think remains the same because so much of this stuff's already been scheduled.
Well, I do think that there will have been. I mean, look, even though there are no letters of intent, there are still letters of agreement going between the schools.
Right.
It's just not going to be called a letter of intent anymore. And there still is going to be a very first day in which you can sign. And so I think that we don't know exactly what it's going to be called. It won't be National Letter of Intent Day, but it could still be a signing of giving your grant and aid papers to the university you're going to. And that could be on a specific day. So
I guess my question to you is, because in the past, you can sign those whenever you want.
Yeah, so this will be different. They said that it's going to be, according to the folks that do this stuff, there's going to be a different line of paperwork. They're eliminating the actual letter of intent clearinghouse. Right. And so it's going to be on a school by school basis, but there is going to be a new group that actually oversees it. And so they will have something separate than just your old, hey, here's your scholarship. But what that's going to entail, we don't know yet. And frankly, I don't know if they know yet. That's the more difficult thing to stomach at this point, in my opinion, is we don't know what the heck they're doing, just like they don't know what the heck they're doing. I mean, we've got Sark out here saying he's recruiting to an 85-man limit.
Yeah.
Smart saying he's recruiting to a 105-man limit. Who's right? Who's right?
Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, do you know? I mean, they don't even know who's right.
And what happens if Kirby's wrong?
I know. Then he has to go rescind all those scholarships.
Is that basically what you have to do?
Absolutely.
And renege on 20 some scholarships?
If he goes that far, yeah.
Wow. I would probably go with the Sark model.
You got to err on the side of caution.
Yeah, man. I would hate to have to leave 20 kids just out SOL like that. Because, oh man, that would be heartbreaking.
Go do that to a kid at Westlake or Katy.
Yeah.
It would not be pretty.
As I say, exactly. Your credibility Yeah, your
Yeah,
credit. Right?
yeah, that would not be good.
Yeah, I agree. So, well, we'll see. Maybe Kirby knows something. Maybe he is an insider that's telling them, "Hey, it's going to be this scholarship limit, whatever it's going to be." I have no idea. And as Bobby said, they don't either. That's the whole point. All right, thank you, the Nick turn. We appreciate that. Appreciate the question there. We'll get to some more of the questions here. I know you guys had them lined up, but I want to ask you guys about the college football weekend coming up. Because there are some, obviously there's a huge game, but not one that really directly affects the Longhorns. So I want to ask you about the SEC schedule first. Of the opponents, the upcoming opponents that Texas has, the games that they have this weekend, any one of them intrigue you guys more than the other? Is more compelling than the other?
I think Florida, Georgia does, because that's the next opponent. But I also think Ole Miss, and I do think Florida, Georgia could be telling, but I think Ole Miss, Arkansas, it could be really telling because Ole Miss has a similar offense to Steve Sarkisian.
I like it.
Yep. So what are we really seeing there? Are we seeing how Arkansas is going to defend Sark? Can they defend it, etc. So that's my thought process.
My thing on Florida, Georgia is, if Florida can't establish any run game at all against Georgia, which is tough to do, then that bodes very well for Texas. I think Texas matches up well with Florida. Florida's so banged up right now. Like Eugene Wilson, their best receiver, is out. He's the stud sophomore slot, which he had the knee scope earlier in the year, so he's been in and out, but he's out. Montrell Johnson, their starting running back, is a maybe. He missed the Kentucky game. Do they just hold him for Texas and let the freshman Jaden Ball keep rolling it? That'll tell you if they don't think they can run the football at all. Jason Marshall, their best corners, now out for the year at Florida. They got some injuries they're dealing with. But the thing I'm watching is if Florida can't establish any run game at all against Georgia, that bodes very well for Texas matching up with Florida. Because if you can't run the football and you have a true freshman quarterback behind it, going up against Georgia and Texas back-to-back weeks, good luck.
Yeah, that's trouble.
Hey, which one do you think? We got to get to Will Matthews here in a second, but Rod, which one are you wanting to? Which one are you wanting to?
I'm with you. That Arkansas Ole Miss one is, to me, really intriguing. I think this is the different styles. Styles make fights, and Arkansas's got a style that I think may counter what Ole Miss does really well. Ole Miss is more talented, but oh man, the style that Arkansas wants to play may work really well to counter that. And of course, I think the Aggies are just a better team than South Carolina. Some people think that might be a really tough game for the Aggies. I'm starting to think the Aggies may maybe that styles make fights. That's a bad matchup, I think.
I agree, 100%.
I will say this: Jerry came out with a stat for us on that game this weekend. Shane Beamer at night in Williams-Brice Stadium at South Carolina, 6-1.
Oh, okay.
So that's a pretty stout stat. It is a difficult place to play, particularly at night.
Good point. I like that. All right, let's bring on our very special guest because he is a lifetime Longhorn and former teammate of mine, great player and a great person as well. Now he does sideline analysis for the Texas radio broadcast with my man Craig Way, with Roger Wallace, and they do a great job. I would encourage anybody to go check it out when you're listening to the games. Maybe turn down the broadcast and turn up the radio broadcast. It is Will Matthews joining us. What's going on, Will? How you doing, brother?
What's up, Rod? What's up, guys? How are you, Bobby and Jerry? What's up, y'all?
Man, I see a golf cart, and that's good.
Yeah, you look like
I'm at home.
Oh, you got the golf course behind you.
I'm at the couch on the house. I'm at the house on the couch.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Yeah, how that works. You got the good job. Hey, Will, you're running the New York City Marathon this weekend, I believe. So you haven't left to go up there yet. Tell folks what you're doing and the group of people that you're doing it for, because I think it's really special, man.
Yeah. Thanks, Bobby. I really appreciate it. So I got pulled into an incredible opportunity, and this opportunity is to really be influential in some young kids' life, especially as it comes to fitness. As an ex-athlete and lifetime Longhorn, fitness for the next generation is really important. People take big risk, and they also accomplish really big things when they're attached to athletics. And so I was connected to an organization called Marathon Kids, and they asked me to run the New York Marathon. And so this old fullback said yes, and lost a couple LBs and raised a little money. And so we raised $10,000 for this organization. Heading up to New York Marathon, me and my wife tomorrow morning. Rod knows, got the little baby. So it's our first time away from the little man. I'm gonna miss him, but I'm gonna be happy to be away. But yeah, it's a great cause, and like to do it on the biggest stages, Longhorn football, whatever you got to do. But yeah, get up to the New York Marathon and have some fun. This is crazy, Bobby. I lost my mind.
Yeah, well, you did lose your mind. There's no doubt about that, because you told us, Jerry and I could not quit talking about it. You told us what your training regimen was.
Well,
and we were like, I'm just going to go out and run 12 miles today. And it takes me a year to go 12 miles.
What?
It's crazy to think to going from football, because football speed, like, you got to get up to top speed and be able to be agile and move and jump and all that. But throw all that stuff out the window. Like, this is a mental game. And so, I mean, when you're running for Rod 4 hours,
no, I can't even imagine.
Bro, I had to use all that summertime Mad Dog magic, all that intestinal fortitude to be able to conquer this one. Yeah, it's a beast, but when you get older and you're not running into people on the field in the way, you got to find ways to get out that dog inside. So this New York Marathon is a dog. It's gonna be a fun one though.
My question is, what's your prep like the last 2 or 3 days for this? Right, all your running prep's done. Like, is it something you're eating? Or are you icing your legs? I mean, like, what's all the prep? I don't know. As anybody's seen me in person, they know I hadn't run a marathon. Okay, so what's the prep like leading up to it?
Yeah, so yesterday I was in with my physical therapist, and we're just kind of working on a couple of things there, trying to make sure all the muscles are as fascia free and loose. And then also you start carb loading. Because when you're running for 4 hours, the number one thing that you have to worry about is fuel. And so I'm eating more carbs.
Did he go out there for y'all?
Yeah, he did. I think he just carb loaded.
I think he just called Jerry with one line. We'll see if he comes back here in a minute.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he was. I think he came back. Oh, there you are, Will. You went out for a second.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I was. Sorry about that, guys.
You're here. You're back.
Yeah. Okay. Resting. I'm trying to rest as much as I can and chill, and that's where, it's come out here and play some golf, and just
try not to go
get ready, and then the day of. I mean, it's. You got all your goos and all your fuels, and you've done all the work, and just do it. So,
did you say goodbye to your big toenails or anything? Any of your toenails expecting to lose? Like, have any last comments for your toenails in case you lose them running that marathon?
I don't know if he heard you, Jerry, but we'll get back to Will a little bit later. He's having some connection problems.
He played fullback. He played fullback, guys, so he lost some toenails. Trust me.
That's true.
You can't play fullback and not lose some toenails and some fingernails and all type of crazy stuff. So
the worst thing I've ever seen. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but I've actually had a relative run a marathon. Okay, and I went out to see him compete, and I'm on like mile 20. Okay, and I'm out there. And I see people running by, and they've got they're bleeding next to their nipples.
Oh yeah, shaping,
faint color of blood. I'm thinking to myself, you're running, and there are people that actually tape their nipples because they don't want the chafing. And I'm this is not a sport for me. I decided, nah. I think I'm going to pass on that one. I don't think Will's going to have to worry about that. He's probably got it all figured out. stuff.
Somebody now you need to. I'm gonna text Will and warn him about that though. Actually, hey man, don't forget
Sure.
tape your nipples up. I would text him that this weekend. Yeah, that's my man Will Matthews. If he comes back, we'll bring him on. If not, we want to thank Will for his time. One thing I was going to ask Will though, every time I see Will in these different like phases of his life. Because when he was with the Detroit Lions, I remember him being up there with Detroit for a while after we were teammates here at Texas. And one time I said to him, he was actually a musician, like he was playing a gig. I went to like some fundraiser, and Will was there playing music. Like he was literally just there. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I write and perform music." And I was like, "What?" And then I meet up with him again, and he's doing something else. Like he's got some nonprofit that he's doing. And then here he's going to be a marathon guy. He's just always one of them guys. Every time I'll see Will, there'll be a different challenge that he has decided to undergo and undertake. Like he's just that guy. He's always that guy. So Will's a cool dude to know. I was going to ask him about, is he still performing and writing music? We'll get him back. I'll ask him that. All right.
Hey, Rod, I wanted to ask you something.
Right.
Where are you at with Texas right now in the off week in general? I mean, your thoughts. I hadn't been on a live stream with you this week during this off week, but where are your thoughts at for Texas right now headed into the Florida game?
Well, the defense has my utmost confidence. I have complete confidence in the defense at this point. I don't even know if the defense has a weakness with the 8-game sample size. Do you guys think they have you guys spotted any weakness with that? Now, they have not been thoroughly tested, but all the tests, including going up against Carson Beck, who's a guy projected to be a first-round pick at quarterback, they have not only met the expectations, they've exceeded those expectations. So defensively, I got no worries at all. I think that group, you're going to be in every game this year. Offensively, I'll admit there are some concerns offensively that I have. Inability to run the football, at least being able to run it consistently. The passing game, because I think at one point it could be predictable. Some of the passing game and some of the short intermediate passes. Now, Sark says because of the way everybody's playing Texas with the 2 deep safeties and backing their safeties up. And I agree. He's right about that. I've watched film and he's correct. But my only concern with that is, well, if they are backing the safeties up, then why can't Texas run the football more effectively? I mean, that's the math of football. If they got 2 deep safeties, then they're going to lose the numbers in the box. They're going to lose that. And then some of those safety. Now, Sark is doing it by supplementing the quick passing game, the attack screens on the outside. That's his version of the running game. But like I said, I think you need to have both available in case a team can shut down the quick passing game. And they're like Georgia, they shut down the quick passing game because they got the athletes on the outside.
Yeah.
They shut down your deeper passing game, your vertical passing game with the pass rush because you don't have time to look deep into those progressions. And so if you meet up with a team that can do that, maybe the Aggies left on the schedule can do that, have a defense that can do that. That could present some problems to the Texas offense. Other than that, Texas can move the ball the way they're doing it right now against everybody else on the schedule. Right. They really can.
Hey, Rod, what's going to be so interesting to your point about the Florida game, Florida can't stop the run. They give up 182 yards a game on the ground, like 97th in the country. So that's going to be interesting to see how Sark attacks Florida because he's going to see, like against Vanderbilt, Rod, we talked about it. He knew they were going to come out in a too high shell. The corner's going to be playing off. And even though he could run the ball against Vanderbilt, I mean, it was so inviting because he knew they had better athletes on the perimeter, right? Florida, he's going to watch the tape and say, man, they can't stop anybody. They can't stop the run. They can't stop the run against anybody. The kid from Arizona State goes for 270 against him, right? A&M ran the ball down the field in Gainesville on him. So what does Sark do? Is he going to break tendency a little bit against Florida? Because they can't stop the run. They haven't proven they can stop the run all season.
Yep. I like that. It's a good point. I agree with you, Jerry. And if you're Sark, that would be a great opportunity for you to establish the run, get some confidence in the run game against a team that's struggling with that. Yeah, that's a good point, Jerry. I agree with you on that too. All right, let's get to some more of the before we get back to the questions. I promise you guys will get to those. Let's thank another one of our sponsors, our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. Really appreciate them being a part of the On Texas football family. Did you know the most awarded wine in Texas is actually the vineyard closest to Austin? That's right, folks. Flat Creek Estate Winery is just minutes from downtown Austin, and they won award after award this year for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan is now available at your local spec, so give it a try today. Of course, Flat Creek is also a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. It's perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with that very special person in your life. So go check it out. Also, I can personally tell you that that Super Texan from Flat Creek and that Flat Creek wine is also available at your local Central Market here in Austin, because we did some grocery shopping there and I saw it. My wife was very excited because she loves Flat Creek Estate wine and also loves that Super Texan. So try it out for yourself. And thank you very much to Flat Creek Estate for sponsoring our Friday live stream. That's flatcreekestate.com. All right, gentlemen, let's get back to a couple of the questions here. David Keith Williams says, Rod, what do you think the chances are Jahdae Barron wins the Thorpe Award over Travis Hunter if he gets 2+ interceptions over the next 4 regular season games and hopefully the SEC title game? Yeah, good point, David Keith Williams. Is the big game that he had versus Georgia helped a lot, right? Those big game moments, they always help with the national awards. Honestly, I think because they usually have 3 finalists for the Thorpe, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe they can have more, but I believe they have 3. The semifinals list is 15. I think the 3 is, Travis Hunter's got to be on there. I mean, Travis Hunter's just amazing. Of course, Jahdae Barron. I think Jahdae makes it as a finalist. I think, honestly, Jalen Catalon's got a good shot to be a finalist, too. He's got 4 interceptions there with UNLV. He's got a forced fumble, got a pick 6. He got 60-something tackles. We all knew that he was a baller, just couldn't stay healthy with Texas. That'd be wild if 2 of the 3 finalists were in the Texas secondary in 2023.
that would be amazing. The other thing is 2 of your top corners, your 2 top corners in outside of Travis Hunter and a lot of mock drafts before the season, they're both out for the year. Morrison at Notre Dame and Hairston at Kentucky. I mean, they're done. So who is going to be that third guy? I think things are breaking really well for Barron and Travis Hunter on that front, because 2 of the guys I think that people were kind of looking at before the season, they've had season-ending injuries. So it's breaking really well. To David Keith Williams' point is, look, Jahdae he has 4 games in the regular season remaining. And I think right now you're looking for those snapshots, those lasting snapshots, that lasting play, a snapshot picture, a snapshot little highlight clip to already carry you through when you're having a really good season. And the interesting thing for me, Bobby, is who's going to challenge Texas through the air at the end of the season, because they're facing more of, now Taylor Green's thrown 7 interceptions this year. DJ Lagway, if you take away his FCS game, he has 2 touchdowns, 5 picks. He's a freshman. Then you have Vandergriff, Kentucky's a disaster on offense. And then you have who knows who's going to be the quarterback at A&M. If it's Wiegman, he's throwing it to the other team. If it's Reed, it's going to be more run-based in the zone read. But he's going to have opportunities at the end of the year. How much are teams going to throw it against Texas is my question. How effectively are they going to throw it against Texas?
Yeah, I think it's a fair question. I mean, teams have tried to throw it against Texas. Georgia tried. They weren't effective. Yeah. Who's better than Georgia at throwing the football right now in the SEC?
Yeah.
Ole Miss, maybe.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily – it's not Arkansas. It's not Kentucky. It's definitely not A&M. Maybe with Lagway. The thing with Lagway, he's got such a big arm.
Yeah.
And you talk about plays that are memorable. Like I can sit here and visualize a couple of plays that Travis Hunter's made. I can also visualize that interception Jahdae made against Colorado State.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful interception. I mean, it wasn't just a great play. I mean, literally was a beautiful play, right? I mean, it was, kind of majestic. Anyways, my point being,
and the interception against Georgia is a great snapshot for him in national awards.
It is, but it also it carries some negative connotation because of the water bottles on the field.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, now you had 2 against Georgia. Yeah, exactly. So I get it, but my thought on that is I feel like Travis Hunter's going to win that award, is because he's probably not going to win the Heisman, and so he's going to win something else.
Mm-hmm.
Now maybe he ends up being the Charles Woodson of our day, right? Of this iteration or whatever. If Dylan Gabriel falters, or Ashton Jeanty falls off a cliff here and Hunter somehow comes back and does something undeniable. But Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel right now, I think are probably edging out Travis Hunter at this point.
Yeah. And that is a travesty, by the way. That is, if it goes to the best player in college football, as long as they're not on the losing team, and Colorado's not going to be a losing team, it should be. Now, Charles Woodson was on a national championship team, so totally he was the best player on that team. So it still kind of followed the Heisman model of best player on one of the better teams in the country. That's working against Travis Hunter, but we've never seen anything like it. Not even Charles Woodson was doing this. I remember watching Charles Woodson and watching him in awe of him and him playing all three phases. I haven't seen anybody do anything close to what Travis Hunter's doing. Not in modern football. I mean, this is some Jim Thorpe type stuff. Literally Jim Thorpe type stuff going on.
not this number of snaps.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's a crazy number of snaps he's playing.
I figured he'd already be out hurt again because he's a slide of build wiry guy, but he's made it through. By the way, there's a huge – for those that follow the Heisman stuff, and I still follow it because it matters in recruiting now. Ashton Jeanty's got a huge game tonight because you knew UNLV would bottle him up more than anybody else. The only game in college football tonight, I believe, is San Diego State at Boise. If he goes and rips off another 200, 250-yard game, which I suspect Boise will probably try to get him to since UNLV held him down last week, then he has an opportunity tonight, being the only game in town, to go rip off a 250-yard game and 3 or 4 touchdowns against San Diego State and leap right back to the top of this thing.
Yeah. No, good stuff there. Good question there, David Keith Williams. How about this one from Brandon? Fellas, if Golden, Bowden, and Bond leave, do you see Texas hitting the portal for a wide receiver this winter?
Yes. The question is it 1 or 2? I think that's the question. I think Golden goes pro, Rod. Bobby and I have talked about this, but I'm in a car, so I can't bring it up, but just look at the contracts these guys are getting as a 3rd round or 4th round pick now. I mean, and I know it's not guaranteed necessarily, but the other thing was CJ and I taped something earlier today on the wide receiver circle of trust, which we'll have this weekend. Matthew Golden's played 424 snaps.
Yeah, man.
I mean, he is obviously a guy that Sark feels like he can't go without on the field. Mm-hmm. In a loaded wide receiver room, Isaiah Bond had 290. So if he'd played last week, he'd probably be at 340. That's a far cry from 453. Yep. DeAndre Moore's at like 245. Wingo's at like 240. Then Bolden and Cook are at 118 and Cook's 114. Bolden's 118. But 453. He doesn't come off the field anymore. Plus, he's a kick returner. I think the NFL is going to really like Matthew Golden. I'll be surprised if any of those guys are back. Just me.
Yep. And if you look at the SEC play, the best catch rate on contested targets, Matthew Golden, 66% catch rate on contested target. That catch, he had a touchdown catch in the Vanderbilt game. Oh, hell of a game. It really was. It's like a one-handed grab, man. It was just freaky. So that's a good point. And I think Sark now has a track record, successful one, after these guys go to the league. Because I agree with you there, Jerry, of getting guys through the transfer portal and being able to develop those guys into NFL caliber receivers.
Hey, can I say something about that catch real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
To go on the road and beat a plucky team like Vanderbilt, who's had a bunch of things go in their direction, you have to have other guys step up.
Yeah.
And I felt like Michael Taft stepped up. I felt like Matthew Golden stepped up. I felt like Barron Sorrell stepped up. I'm not saying those guys aren't starters. Okay. Yeah. But it wasn't Isaiah Bond or Trey. It wasn't, it wasn't necessarily a singular player that stepped up that we're accustomed to. It was a group of guys. And that is one of the things that gives me some confidence going into these last 4 games. If they could start as a group executing like some of those guys individually executed, particularly on offense, when Jerry, you asked Rod his thoughts on the whole team right now. It's really about getting something going in the run game. And then not only getting something going in the run game, but pass protection. Yeah, and then allowing them or getting them at some level to execute against that. And so I just felt like that Matthew Golden catch, in my opinion, was indicative of a team that showed they're more than just one player. They're not, you know what I mean? It's a group of them that are going to make plays each and every week. So I like that a lot.
Hey, Rod, you know what? To answer that question too for Brandon Huey, I think it'll be 1 or 2 in the portal. I lean to 2 because I think all 3 of those guys are gone. One of the things for Isaiah Bond that CJ and I were talking about for the video that's going to come out this weekend, you know where Bond may have helped his draft stock the most this season? Everybody's going to look at the catch against UTSA, the catch against Michigan. You know where I think it is? He transitioned into a different offensive scheme and didn't skip a beat and is actually a better football player. That's really good for his draft stock because everybody knew he could run like the wind and he'll run 4.28 or something in the combine. Everybody knows he can go make a big play. He did it against Auburn. But to go from Alabama to a more complex offense, Sark system, and not skip a beat, that says a lot for his football intelligence. And I think that's going to play really well come NFL draft time for him.
Good stuff there, Jerry. I agree with you on that. It's a good point. And let's get back to a couple of the questions here. This one actually is for you guys in recruiting. Come from Shivam. He says, what's the update on Michael Terry? What's that Michael Terry update? I'm curious too, actually.
Yeah, he's kind of the one prospect who's gone back and forth on when a decision could be. At one point, it was January for the Adidas All-America game in San Antonio, which is his hometown. Obviously, he'll sign before that. He's a midterm high school graduate or is on track to be. So then it came, maybe he decides in September. No, then it bumped back to November. Then maybe it was October, late October. Now we're into November. So I think his timeline's moved around more than other kids have moved around. So we'll see does he do something in November, early November, mid-November, or does he just go ahead and wait till the 4th at this point because you're already at November 1st. I still think I continue to hear good things on the Texas side, but, until these kids announce, it's got to keep playing out because people don't stop recruiting these guys. But I do think he's been a pretty heavy lean to Texas for a few weeks now.
Yeah, good stuff there. CB, my man Chris Bennett says, do we see Gibson versus Florida?
That's a really good question.
What do you guys thought? Do we see Jared Gibson? It seems like, maybe they didn't want to use him versus Georgia. I think you said Bobby had 1 snap, something like that.
Yep.
I'm
Vandy.
not sure.
Vandy.
Against Vandy. He had 1 snap. Didn't see him at all versus Georgia. What are you guys' thoughts about Jared Gibson? Is he going to get worked in, or are we at the point now where this Sark has established these are the guys he's working with? Amari Knobloch, he obviously is using other weapons. Yeah, that came out of nowhere. So there is hope, right?
There is. I think that it depends on the score. So Texas up by 3 scores in the 4th quarter. All bets are off on who plays, right? That's all. So take that off. Take injury to either Wisner or Blue off the table, and then let's talk about that. So do we see him? I don't think we do. And even though Texas may think that they want to lean on those guys at one point or another, I don't know that Texas really leans on anybody in the run game. They're more zone blocking, which doesn't necessarily fit with what they want to do with a Jarrett Gibson against a bigger team like Florida. So if we do see him 5 plays, 7 plays, not a full 20 unless it's something where someone's injured or Texas is up big.
Yeah,
that's my take.
Could it be as simple as the offensive line hasn't been really high level in pass pro like we expected? So you can't really bring in a freshman running back that's maybe, Cedric Baxter was special as a freshman in pass pro. Is it just putting him in a position to fail more so? Because he can run the football. He can run it down. I'll be interested to see if he plays a little bit against Florida. It's hometown. He used to be committed to Florida. But is it just as simple as, look, Texas is giving up 11 sacks. Oklahoma could also get after the quarterback. They're giving up 11 sacks the last 2 weeks. And Bob, even the experienced running backs haven't been great in pass pro. They've been okay.
Yeah, they haven't been good in pass pro.
No.
Rod.
Yeah.
If you're going to give them a pass pro grade, it's going to be a C-.
Yeah.
and maybe a D at times this year because they've blown some. They just outright blown a couple.
Yeah. Maybe, and that might be the reason too, because that's the best you have to offer. Maybe putting a young freshman in that situation where he's got to do pass pro. Sark's not willing to take that risk. All right. Thank you, CB, for the question. That was a good question there. Before we continue, we'll take a couple more questions. We're getting close to the end of our live stream. Let's take another one of our sponsors. Bobby, would you mind telling the folks out there about our fine friends over at South Point Dodge?
Yeah, absolutely. Really happy with that they're part of On Texas Football. Texas football fans score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge has more than 600 vehicles in stock, and their award-winning sales staff, they don't do games or gimmicks. They just get straight to the point by getting you the very best deal. So score big today at South Point Dodge. Come see us off I-35 in South Austin, or at southpointdodge.com. Get to the point at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge is Austin's automotive everything. Looking to sell your car as well? Get South Point's best offer over the phone or online. Again, over off of I-35 in South Austin or at southpointdodge.com. Thank you to Walker Stark and those guys over there that do a great job for South Point Dodge.
All right, thank you very much, Bobby. Appreciate that, and we appreciate our friends at South Point Dodge. A couple other questions here while we got some time. Michael wants to know, will Texas be a couple of strong D-tackle portal additions away from another elite defense next year? Very little drop-off at edge, linebacker, or in the secondary, but there will be very few experienced defensive tackles. Good question there, Michael. Bobby, what are your thoughts about that?
I think you got to have these defensive tackles because who's coming back right now? Look, Sadir Mitchell may or may not come back. It's not predetermined at this point. I know people want to make it so because he had some issues, but Alex January is coming back. After that, who else?
Melvin Hill's a rotational player they like, but a rotational for redshirt freshman.
Yeah, Aaron Bryant maybe. Jeray Bledsoe has not played any at all this year.
Yeah.
Maybe they get Lole back because of an injury issue that he had in his I mean, I just don't. They're going to have to, even if they sign 4 or 5 defensive tackles they want out of high school. They got to go 2 there at least.
I mean, look, if you end up signing 4 high school D linemen, and 3 of them are early enrollees, you're even at that. I mean, I saw Myron Charles Tuesday. I think he's going to play as a freshman because I think he's a typical Florida kid. He's just going to blow up. And he's going to play. Josiah Sharma, well coached at Folsom, even though he's missed half the season due to transfer rules. That means he's got a lot of practice and technique work in. But how many of those guys are actually going to play heavy snaps? Or do you want to play heavy snaps? You don't want to go to Ohio State and have 2 true freshmen in your 4-man rotation on the defensive line, ideally, right? So they're going to have to get 2 or 3 out of the portal. I guess technically Lole could play another year if he wanted to, but with his injuries, I don't know. I'd probably just try to go to the NFL at this point if I was him. Right now, he's had 3 major injuries, but you got to get 2 or 3 of those guys. By the way, somebody asked, is there an update on Zealous Hicks, the safety from Georgia in 2026 committed to Texas? He may reclass, at least 50-50 shot he reclasses. I think now that colleges know that, they're trying to make a last-second push on him. He's going to Tennessee this weekend. He's going to be at Florida for the LSU game, and he's going to be at the Georgia Tech Miami game in Atlanta there. But I think Texas remains in a good spot for him. But now that these colleges pretty much know, okay, this kid's planning on getting out in 2025 and being a 2025 kid at the end of the high school season, I think colleges are trying to make one last big push for him because he's really good.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Appreciate that one. Let's get to some more questions. Marco wants to know, for corner and delayed blitzes, do you all expect Texas to run more quick slants and crossing routes? I mean, they don't run a lot of quick slants. They do run crossing routes quite a bit with the mesh concepts. The delayed blitzes and the cornerback blitzes, I'm not sure what the remedy is. I mean, I remember someone saying in chat you could try to go with some sort of hard counts to get the defense to reveal itself a little bit early on, maybe get to the line of scrimmage, maybe more up-tempo, but the up-tempo didn't work much against Vandy. They still ran those cornerback blitzes. I'm not sure exactly what Sark's going to do if team. I know the delayed blitzes are going to continue. The cornerback blitz, though, guys, that is the cornerback and slot cornerback blitz. Defenses leave themselves highly exposed to do that. That is a real gamble for defense to do that. What you have behind it usually is a safety covering a skilled wide receiver, and that's usually a huge matchup advantage. If the quarterback can find some time, which, by the way, Quinn didn't even need that DeAndre Moore touchdown, not the slot fade, but the other touchdown versus Vandy, that was a cornerback blitz. And Quinn saw it, and he was facing it, and he saw it, and quick pitch, it hit, the safety was out of position, ended up being a touchdown. That's the risk you take when you have a cornerback blitz, but guys, it's worked. 7 out of the 17 sacks against Texas this year has involved a pressure package with a slot corner or cornerback blitz. So it's something. I just don't know exactly how Texas counters it or remedies that issue.
Not have squeeze splits.
That's a big part of
it. Because that gets them closer to the line of scrimmage.
It does.
Or closer to the quarterback, right?
It does. Yes, sir. It does. But
that's
Sark's baby. That's one of his conceptual signatures.
Nick Saban spoke about that at SEC Media Days, Rod, how he said that what makes Sark difficult to defend is the squeeze splits.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, teams are just deciding to light Texas up and take their chances.
Exactly.
And teams that have superior guys like Georgia have found success, and even Vanderbilt found some success.
That's true. No, you're right about that.
Hey, by the way, what the Vanderbilt game proved, Rod and Bobby, hey, it's great to feel like we're going to come out in this too high shell, play a little off coverage, but unless you have elite talent on the perimeter, you can't do it against Texas. They're too fast and too talented. So that would get that game to me, Bobby, to your point, shows why you just have to say the hell with it, take some risk and blitz the quarterback all the time. If I'm playing Texas, my blitz rate's going up. Rod, I would even consider giving up outside leverage to an outside receiver and seeing if Quinn will throw it down the sidelines at times with a blitz coming up the middle. That's what I'd be trying to do. But I know for people that watch Texas against Vanderbilt, they're going to be like, you know what? Can't play this too high shell off coverage unless you have elite athletes, because if they win one block on the perimeter, it's an explosive play.
Yeah. I agree with you about the blitz rate, though. And that's what Vandy had there. I mean, that was the highest blitz rate that Quinn's faced all year. I would be similar. I'd blitz them. Interior blitzes, outside blitzes from the perimeter, all of that. All right, before we get ready to end our live stream, I'm going to ask Bobby to tell you once again about our friends over at 40 Acres Apparel and our good friends over at the University of Texas Co-op.
Yeah, the University of Texas Co-op is a nonprofit and has been serving the Longhorn community since 1896. Yeah, an 18 in front of that number. Every penny of profit from the co-op directly benefits course material scholarships at UT. In fact, over 7,000 students received free course material scholarships in the 2023-2024 academic year. These are people doing good work for young students. 40 Acres Apparel is the apparel that was born inside DKR Stadium, designed and built exclusively for University of Texas and Longhorn Nation. Go down to the University of Texas Co-op or go to universityoftexascoop.com and get geared up with 40 Acres Apparel. Great designs, fashionable, high quality, moisture wicking, SPF 50. Just a terrific product all the way around. Looks great, feels great. 40 Acres is also a proud sponsor with the co-op for the course material scholarships for UT students. Again, it's coming around Christmas time. And if you're thinking about buying or getting something nice, 40 Acres Apparel, really, really good stuff, guys.
Thank you very much, Bobby, and thank you to 40 Acres Apparel and to the University of Texas Co-op. How about this one as one of our last questions to end the live stream? This comes from Josh. Josh wants to know, have y'all heard anything from this week about how the staff feels about potential improvements to pass pro? Yeah, I guess my question is, yeah, Josh, I don't know. Have you guys heard anything that would lead you to believe that there's going to be significant improvement in pass protection for the Longhorns? We know it's a point of emphasis. It has to be after, allowing, 4 sacks to Vanderbilt and 7 sacks to Georgia, 11 sacks in the last 2 weeks. Was that the number one priority in the bye week, guys? Was that number one?
I can't say it was number one. I have heard on Sunday/Monday that there was a great amount of attention paid to it from a coaching staff perspective. How that necessarily translated to practice this week, I can't speak to that. But from a staff perspective, I know that was a circled, starred, whatever you want to call it, emphasis.
Okay. Yeah. And I wonder if there was about the slot cornerback blitz and the cornerback blitz and the interior blitzes and the delayed rushes, delayed blitzers, which is something that seems to have been added to the blueprint about how you try to beat Texas and when you face Texas. I thank you very much, Josh, for that question. Appreciate it. If we didn't get to the questions, I apologize, guys. A little bit limited in time, but I promise you, come back with the questions. We'll have, promise you, some live streams coming up this weekend. As a matter of fact, schedule, anything, updates on the schedule on the bye week for the folks out there, Bobby?
We've got our normal Saturday conversation. You, me, and CJ are going to break down all the games tomorrow morning. Rod, Jerry, and CJ are going to talk about the circle of trust, maybe a little bit about Quinn Ewers and his draft stock, a little bit, and other Longhorns draft stock as well, because that was a topic of some consternation. Also, don't forget 5 o'clock today. Basketball gets a possible commitment from one of the top 50 players in the country. Jerry will be on ontexasfootball.com reporting that news. So make sure you check back on ontexasfootball.com, if you will.
Oh, good stuff there, Bobby. Appreciate it. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes, always doing a great job. Matthew's the real MVP. Thank you, Jerry. We know you're out there on the road, so we appreciate you. Be safe out there as well. Bobby, thanks for all of the nuggets of wisdom. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to 40 Acres Apparel and to the University of Texas Co-op. We appreciate also South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com, and our friends over at Flat Creek Estate, Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. Go check them out. They also have a great wine selections. Trust me, you got some in the house right now, as a matter of fact.
Hey, Rob,
any last words, Bobby? Or what do you got to say?
Yeah, before we get going, because he didn't have a chance to do it when he was on with us. Will Matthews. I want to say thank you to some of his sponsors that helped raise that $10,000.
Yes, please.
Clean Cause, Malk Organics, Austin Screen Printing, Bloody Buddy, SPI Belt, and then also one of our sponsors as well, Hargrove Roofing. Thanks for making that happen. $10,000 raised for marathonkids.com. Good luck to Will Matthews, one of our guys that comes on here every so often and spends some time with us. A really good Longhorn. And good luck this weekend at the New York City Marathon, Will.
Good message there from Will Matthews, and thank you, Bobby, for that. And thanks to Will for coming on and some of his time. All right, so we appreciate all you guys for joining us. Thank you very much. Remember, keep it locked in to ontexasfootball.com and the On Texas Football YouTube channel for any and all things related to the Texas Longhorns. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. And in the meantime, hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em, guys.